Have you ever noticed how you spend hours scrolling through feeds of people living perfect lives and then feel strangely empty, like you've lost something you didn't even know you had? Here's the brutal truth no one wants to admit. You're not just inspired by these people. You're slowly eroding your own identity. Every comparison is like a drop of acid to your self-confidence. One drop does nothing, but 100 drops a day, every day, for months, you look in the mirror and no longer recognize who's staring back. The comparison trap is a game never meant to be won because the rules change. Every time you're about to achieve something, you reach your follower goal. Now it's engagement. You get the body you want. Now it's your career. You improve your career. Now it's the perfect relationship. It's an endless treadmill of inadequacy disguised as personal growth while you're chasing edited versions of realities that don't even exist. Your true potential is starving in the next room, waiting for you to finally notice it. In the next few minutes, you'll learn exactly how to break this vicious cycle, not with fluffy motivation or positive affirmations, but with practical strategies based on how your brain actually works. You'll discover why you're stuck in this trap, how it's silently draining you, and most importantly, how to create a personal system where external comparison becomes irrelevant. Because ultimately, the only person you should be competing with is watching this video right now. Have you ever stopped to think why it's so easy to list your weaknesses in 30 seconds? But when someone asks you what are your strengths, you freeze. This is no coincidence. Your brain has been trained since childhood to focus on what's missing, what needs to be fixed, the gap between you and others. It's a survival mechanism that kept you alive in the savannas. But today it keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-sabotage. While you're obsessed with being like that person on Instagram, you're completely ignoring the unique tools you already have at your disposal. The brutal reality? You don't know your own superpowers because you've never really taken the time to map them. Identifying your strengths isn't about inflating your ego or creating a pretty motivational list to hang on your wall. It's about pure strategy. Think of it this way: a general who doesn't understand his army's true capabilities will lose every war. You're entering daily battles, negotiations, relationships, projects, decisions without knowing what your most lethal weapons are. Perhaps you have an incredible ability to read environments and anticipate conflicts, but you're wasting it trying to be the charismatic leader you never were. Or you have a rare ability to simplify the complex, but you're comparing yourself to difficult talkers and accumulating frustration. Your true strengths are specific, measurable, and applicable. They're not generic online personality test phrases. Here's the exercise no one does. Take the last 5 situations where you felt in control, where things flowed naturally. It doesn't matter if it was solving a technical problem, calming someone in crisis, organizing a chaotic event, or negotiating a discount. Analyze it coolly. What specific skill did you use there? Was it analytical patience, direct communication, systemic vision? Now compare them to the situations where you compare yourself to others. You're probably measuring your apples against others' oranges. The person you envy may be great at X, but they're probably terrible at Y, which is precisely your zone of mastery. When you map your real strengths, comparisons become meaningless because you finally understand there's no universal ranking. There are different games. Most people don't have personal goals. They have borrowed desires. You know that goal of earning X per month, having Y followers, or achieving Z results? Honest question. Did it come from within, or did you absorb it like a virus after scrolling through feeds for months? The problem isn't having ambition. It's that you're running a marathon someone else designed, with rules you didn't choose, toward a finish line that means nothing to you. And when you reach it, empty, because it wasn't your goal. It was a Frankenstein goal stitched together from scraps of other people's expectations. Setting truly personal goals means brutally and surgically cutting out everything that doesn't stem from your essence, your true values, the life you want to live when you turn off your phone. Effective personal goals have 3 characteristics that no one teaches you. First, they're uncomfortable to say out loud because they often go against the grain of what's socially desirable. Maybe your real goal is to work less and have more free time. Not to climb the career ladder, but you're embarrassed to admit it because everyone around you is in the rat race. Second, they're yours even when no one's looking. If you just feel like posting about your goal on social media, it's not yours, it's a performance. Third, they're measurable in terms of internal transformation, not just external results. Developing emotional control in conflict is a personal goal. Appearing confident is theater for an invisible audience. Here's the ultimate test. Imagine waking up tomorrow in a reality where no one will ever know your results, no one will praise you, no one will validate you. Your achievements are completely private. What goals would you still pursue? This list, my friend, is your true compass. The rest is noise. When you set goals based on this brutal clarity, comparing yourself to others loses its fuel because you're no longer playing their game. You've created your own board, your own rules, your own definition of victory. And for the first time, you can truly win because you're competing with yourself, not with edited ghosts from an infinite timeline. You think you're just skimming Instagram, but in reality, you're injecting comparative poison straight into your veins. Each scroll is a microdose of inadequacy disguised as inspiration. You see that person with the perfect life, the perfect body, the perfect career, and your brain registers it as evidence that you're falling behind. The dirty trick, it's all heavy curation, strategic angles, filters, and an edited version of reality. But your limbic system doesn't know this. It only knows that it's seeing someone better, and sets off social threat alarms 3 minutes into your feed. And you've already sabotaged your mental state for the next few hours. It's not your weakness, it's the platform's design working exactly as intended. Limiting social media isn't about becoming a digital hermit or doing a weekend motivational detox. It's about regaining control of your informational diet. Think about it this way, you would eat junk food every day and expect to have impeccable physical health, right? So why do you consume comparative junk food every day and expect to have impeccable mental health? The difference is that no one taught you to see social media as the brain's fast food. Neuroscience studies show that social comparison activates the same brain areas as physical pain. You're literally hurting yourself every time you open the app to relax. The solution isn't heroic willpower. It's creating strategic barriers to rid yourself of everything that makes you feel inferior. Here's what happens when you truly limit your exposure. For the first few days, you feel anxiety, almost withdrawal. Your brain, addicted to fast-paced dopamine, will convince you that you're missing something important. It's a lie. You're not missing anything. You're gaining something rare, real perspective. After 2 weeks, you realize that the urge to check your feed was completely artificial. You start measuring your progress by your own milestones, not by the edited highlights of strangers. The comparison doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses its intensity. It's like leaving a noisy room and finally being able to hear your own thoughts. The clarity you gain is worth infinitely more than any content you miss by not scrolling 47 times a day. Gratitude has become a buzzword in generic self-help, but most people are doing it wrong. It's not about writing "I'm grateful for my health" in a cute little notebook every morning, while mentally complaining about everything. Real gratitude is an exercise in perception, not forced positivity. It's training your brain to recognize what's already working, while everyone else only sees what's missing. Think of it this way, you have two wolves inside you, one focused on scarcity and the other on abundance. Which one do you feed? If you spend all day consuming other people's edited lives, you're feeding the scarcity wolf. When you stop and genuinely recognize what's valuable, you're changing your brain's neurological game. The science behind it is simple and brutal. Your brain is programmed with a negative bias. Evolutionarily, your ancestors who focused on dangers outlived their inattentive optimists. But today, you're not running from lions, you're running from imaginary comparisons. Practicing gratitude is hacking this ancient system. When you deliberately acknowledge your unique achievements, no matter how small, you're reprogramming the neural circuits that previously only saw deficits. It's not about ignoring real problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about balancing the equation. Do you have challenges? Of course, but you also have resources, experiences, and victories that someone else would give anything to have. Here's the practical test that separates real gratitude from motivational theater. Every time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, force yourself to list 3 specific things you have that the other person probably doesn't. It could be free time. It could be a rare skill. It could be a genuine relationship. It could be mental health. It could be the absence of drama. Be specific, no generalities. The point isn't to feel superior. It's to break the illusion that the other person has everything and you have nothing when you do. This consistently, comparison loses its hypnotic power. You begin to see that everyone is playing a different card, and yours, when you really look at it, aren't as bad as you convinced yourself they were. You're so obsessed with looking ahead, measuring the distance between you and others, that you've completely forgotten to look back and see how far you've come. This is the fatal flaw of comparison. It traps you in an eternal prison of inadequacy. You never stop to recognize that the person you were 6 months ago would be impressed by who you are today. Progress reflection isn't about inflating your ego. It's about calibrating your internal compass. Without it, you're navigating without reference points, thinking you've moved forward while in fact you've already crossed oceans. Most people grossly underestimate their own growth because they're comparing their entire journey to other people's edited highlight reels. Here's the truth no one talks about. Real progress is rarely linear or dramatic. It's not Hollywood. It's not a montage with epic music. It's incremental, silent, almost invisible in everyday life. You don't wake up in the morning radically different, but when you stop and compare who you were a year ago, the skills you developed, the fears you overcame, the situations you would handle completely differently today, then you see the real transformation. The problem is, your brain doesn't do this automatically. It needs to be forced to stop. Look at the data and recognize the milestones. Without conscious reflection, you live in an amnesia of achievements, always feeling like you're not enough because you're not measuring by the right yardstick. The method is simple, but requires discipline. Every week, answer 3 brutally honest questions. First, what skill, behavior did I improve this week, even if only slightly? Second, what situation would I have handled worse 3 months ago? Third, what limiting belief have I challenged or abandoned recently? Write down your answers. Review them monthly. The pattern that emerges will shock you. You'll realize you're evolving in areas you weren't even paying attention to because you were focused on the wrong metrics, comparing yourself to players in another league. When you consistently reflect on your own progress, the need for external validation diminishes dramatically. You no longer need the approval of others because you have concrete, unquestionable evidence of your own evolution. And that, my friend, is true freedom. Now you have access to something most people will never discover. The comparison trap isn't about others being better. It's about you playing the wrong game. You've just seen how to identify your true strengths, set goals that are truly yours, limit exposure to digital poison, practice strategic gratitude, and consistently reflect on your progress. These aren't motivational tips, they're mental reprogramming tools. The difference between remaining stuck in the cycle of inadequacy and finally taking control of your own narrative lies in applying them, not just intellectually agreeing. So answer me honestly, are you ready to stop measuring your worth by the yardstick of edited strangers? Or will you close this video, feel that momentary taste of insight, and tomorrow morning go back to compulsive scrolling, comparing yourself, sabotaging yourself, wasting your unique mental energy, chasing ghosts? The choice is simple, but not easy. You can continue being held hostage by algorithms designed to make you feel inferior, or you can start today, right now, building a personal system where your only metric of success is, am I better today than I was yesterday? Every day you continue to feed the comparison, you're literally stealing time and energy from your true growth. If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any brutal and realistic content. See you in the next video.